Hello, it's Anna Pacheco, SantaFe101.com. My guest today is Barry Digman, and he is a realtor for Keller Williams up in the Farmington area. Barry, do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yes, you do.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. So I understand Farmington is actually your hometown.
Yes, it is. I'm actually a New Mexico native. I was born in Albuquerque, and then my parents moved up here in 1953 with the oil boom when I was just an infant. And grew up here. Went to school at the University of New Mexico. I graduated there, and then came back up here, and I've been here ever since.
And so has real estate been your only career, or is this something you're doing later in life?
My background is accounting and finance, but it's always been sort of in the development real estate area.
And so how did that work out? I mean, in terms of accounting and finance, how was it related to real estate?
Well, I was actually an accountant for real estate companies. I started with the company in Albuquerque, Bellama Corporation. People that have been around a long time remember Bellama Corporation. They were one of the largest builders, subdivisions all over the state.
As in Dale Bellama?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, we have it here. I grew up here. Santa Fe is my hometown, and I grew up not far from the whole Dale Bellama addition. I was in the Carlos Ray addition. So there you go. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Interesting story. There's also a developer that built in Santa Fe called Alan Stam, and you may be familiar with those homes there.
I knew the Stam family. I still know the Stam family. I don't know if you remember this. There was this interesting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I live in a Stam home here in Farmington.
Oh, okay. Well, just so you, for people that might be watching this, the very interesting thing about Alan Stam is right after World War II, here in Santa Fe, he built the first housing development, which was called Casa Solana. And it was right on the north side of town where we once had a Japanese internment camp. So that's kind of an interesting little tidbit. Another little interesting tidbit, and this would have been in the early 1960s, Alan Stam's daughter was kidnapped. Do you remember that?
Oh my, no.
Oh, that's a whole other story. But this interview is about real estate in Farmington and San Juan County, but just a lot of interesting little factoids about New Mexico. And for you and I, we have the advantage of having been born here, so we have these kind of interesting little tidbits. But yeah, so let's talk a little bit. So after you worked in accounting for realty companies, when did you decide to get your license and to become a realtor?
I've been licensed for about 20 years here. A little over 20 years is when I got licensed. And I just, I knew enough about what was going on. I thought I could probably do this. So I got licensed, but I continued to do accounting for a long time. And then kind of eased into actual sales. 7, 8 years ago is when I actually stepped into it full time as a realtor.
And have you always been with Keller Williams?
I was with Dimick Realty for 20 years, and then came over to Keller Williams about 5 years ago.
Okay, good. Well, let's talk a little bit about real estate in Farmington right now. I know that Farmington, like parts of the southeastern part of the state, are dependent on oil and gas. Those are kind of bust and boom economies. So tell me kind of, if you can give our viewers a little bit of the history of Farmington's main industries, how it has impacted real estate, and where you are today.
Sure. When my parents first came here, people were living in tents down by the river, literally. It was an absolute boom town. So it filled up, and then we went through those cycles and always have up and down, up and down, and up and down. And the builders would come in and they would build out, really nice housing stock and everything. And then the rigs would leave, and, it kind of got tough for a while. Right now, we're doing pretty good. We're transitioning from just oil and gas to more of a retail hub, and we're actively trying to attract retirees to the Four Corners area, which is, New Mexico is a marvelous place to retire for active outdoor or people who want access to a multicultural environment. You can't beat New Mexico for the weather, for the culture, for the proximity to all kinds of outdoor activities. It's perfect. So we're seeing that transition a little bit up here. Oil and gas, and we're primarily a gas field up here. The southeast portion of the state, which is, the western edge of the Permian Basin, they're more oil oriented, okay? And it's picking up down there. But up here, it's a little slower, honestly.
And who was the major company, the major producer of gas up there?
There's a variety of them. Right now, Hillcorp is probably the biggest producer up here. Thousands of wells, thousands of gas wells up here. And they've purchased a lot of production from other people and put things together. So, it's all dependent on the price of gas.
And so as a realtor, have you seen in even before, like your career, at least related to it to real estate, have you seen in the last 20 years when things go down, people move out and you have a lot of empty houses and then it comes back? Is it kind of an ebb and flow, or do people just kind of stick around and just kind of do other things until the gas picks up again?
You see some of that, but not to the extent that some people would believe. It doesn't empty out like it used to, okay? There's enough other economic activity here to keep people, stable. And the other thing is, when the nice oil fields up in the Dakotas or even in the Permian Basin and places like that, people love living up here. So, they are able to work in those areas and then come back, all right? They keep their homes here, and maybe they'll go work for 3 weeks at a time and take a couple of and come back for a couple of weeks. We see a lot of that, but they don't empty out like they used to in the 60s. I haven't seen that.
Well, that's a promising what I want to use, a promising movement or something at this point in time, that people are actually kind of staying put. What is the average in terms of demographics? I know you're trying to market yourself. Farmington is as a retirement community. What would the average demographic be right now? Because I'm assuming that a lot of these workers have to be a little bit younger to be working in the oil, the gas industry.
It's hard work, yes.
Right.
I think it's probably the same as it is in a place like Albuquerque or Las Cruces. Well, Las Cruces will be a little older, I think. They're attracting a lot more retirees from what I understand. So, the oil field demographic, you're going to be, for the guys working there, they're going to be 25 to 55 years old, okay? Very highly skilled. It's changed a lot from just pure labor to, a technical job. Those guys knows what they're doing out there.
And with a lot of these guys, I'm assuming they have families, they have wives and children. So
Sure.
It's helping the economic base in terms of, these children are going to public schools or maybe charter schools. And so that's always, to me, an indication of a healthy community when there are children and schools are active. It's not just retirement, and it's just more vibrant, I think.
Yeah, well, if you come to Farmington, you're going to drive around and you're going to say to yourself, you guys really focus on youth up here. Our baseball parks, our soccer fields, our public parks, our aquatic center, all of those things, tennis courts are, as good as they get for a community this size, and as good as, comparable facilities in huge cities.
And what is the aquatic center?
The aquatic center is an Olympic-sized pool that we have here, along with what we call a leisure pool for the little kids. Our huge swimming pool. We've actually got 3 pools here, and this is the one that was built 25 years ago. I know it was exactly 25 years ago because my wife opened the doors on that and went to work there when it opened and retired in December.
Excellent.
Marvelous facility. We host
Good.
state swim meets, everything like that up here.
Okay, and then what is the size? What is the population of Farmington? Again, not taking into consideration that some people may come and go because of the gas industry, but what is the population more or less of Farmington right now?
We're We're right around 40,000 right now.
40,000. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Has it ever swelled to, like, I know Carlsbad has, like, when the oil boom was going on,
Yeah.
I think the population might have doubled for a while. Have you ever seen it really get the population grow a lot, or is it always kind of stayed at around 40,000?
It's been stable for a long time. You know, in the late 60s through the 70s, we called it 25,000, 30,000, and then it grew some more after that. But it's pretty much stable. We got up to around 45,000, and then, you know, the last time the oil and gas tapered off, a lot of people did leave and didn't come back. But it's pretty stable right now, I think. And in fact, we're seeing some influx of people,
Oh,
which
good,
makes me
good.
happy.
And let's talk about the cost of housing in Farmington. I'm in Santa Fe. It's very expensive here. What
Yeah.
would the average cost of a modest home be? If somebody, who's maybe they're in their 30s and they've got good jobs, they can work remotely, but they've got other expenses. What would a modestly priced home in Farmington be right now?
You know, our average price right now is about $205,000 for the homes that have sold in, say, the last 30 to 60 days.
And
Okay.
what would that get you for 205,000?
205,000, you're going to get a nice 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. Okay. Nice neighborhood, 15 to 1,800 square feet, 2-car garage, fairly modern, right? So they're nice.
Are there any new housing developments going up in Farmington?
We've got some builders that are building now. Okay, they're not on a massive scale, but we do have new homes construction here. Yes,
And so in terms of a development, I mean, are they like 20 homes, 30 homes, 10 homes? Like, are these developments, how large are they?
they're more around 20 homes. Yeah,
20 homes. And are they building and then selling, or do they already have orders for homes and they're just filling orders?
both. You know, they're both speculative and custom homes being built.
Okay. And then in terms of does Farmington have a high-end real estate market?
Not Santa Fe high end. Okay,
Well,
nobody.
nobody in New Mexico has that, right?
Yeah, we do have $1 million homes here.
You
Okay.
do? Well, tell me about $1 million home in Farmington.
Well, $1 million home is going to be, you know, way nicer than $1 million home in Santa Fe. Okay, as far as size and location and those kinds of things, you're going to be up in the 5, 6, 7,000 square foot range for that kind of a home. Yeah, on acreage, fairly new. It's not going to be a 50-year-old home. These are going to be 20-year-old homes. So there are some of those available.
Okay.
Lots of them in the 500s.
And like, well, who would live in those $1 million homes? Are these retirees, or who can afford these type of homes?
Well, a lot of it, you know, are people that have, you know, grown up here and have enough money to be able to afford that. We do see some, you know, when people come to Farmington who have had a wonderful career somewhere and retired and are looking for a great place to retire permanently, Farmington is a top choice because they can sell that home in Seattle or Santa Fe or Denver or someplace like that, and they can afford a very, very nice home here compared to what they had somewhere else, and have, you know, change left over.
Exactly,
Because,
pay a house cash. Well, I interviewed a while ago your colleague and old school friend Valerie Usselman, and she had mentioned to me that there aren't any or very few adobe homes in Farmington. Can you give me the history of that, or why is there not adobe? Because most parts, I'm doing interviews all over the state, and just about every community has some adobe architecture. Tell me why Farmington does not have adobe homes.
well, because our housing stock really began with the oil boom in the late 40s. Okay, and they just did, you know, we had a railroad spur in here, so they could bring materials in. I believe that has a lot to do with it. It was just, you know, it was just less expensive to put this housing stock up, you know, frame and stucco, than it was, you know, for the labor to build with adobe.
And let me ask you, how old is the town of Farmington? When were you incorporated?
Late 1800s. You
So,
know,
okay. Well,
that
that's
was
probably
very
part of the
small
reason
back
too, is
then.
because
Yeah.
Santa Fe and a lot of the up here in northern New Mexico, we're so darn old, that that's probably part of, back in the day, they didn't have lumber. So they had to build with mud bricks. Yeah,
Right.
that makes perfect sense. So
Right.
I always like to talk about Chaco Canyon when we talk about Farmington, because I would think, that's like, what a cool, if I were retiring and I was thinking about New Mexico, there's something about, to me, there'd be kind of a pull, like something drawing me to your area, to the Four Corners area, which would be New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, and Arizona, because of,
Mhm.
Chaco Canyon and the what we call the Puebloans now, but the Anasazi Indians. Tell me a little bit about how that proximity to such a historic area has impacted Farmington, or maybe it hasn't.
Well, the Anasazi ruins, and we've got Mesa Verde, okay, which is up by Cortez, hour and a half drive from here. Aztec Ruins, which is a 15-minute drive from Farmington. Chaco Canyon, Salmon Ruins. So we just have a wealth of those beautiful ancient ruins around here, and it does have an impact. When you think about, we like to think we're pretty snazzy and pretty modern and everything like that, and we've got it all under control. But there were people here 1,000 years ago, who were building and living here and doing very well. And so it does, if you stop and think about it, yeah, it has an impact on us. And we have a marvelous tricultural area here. We're adjacent to the largest Native American nation in the country.
The Navajo Nation.
Just to the west of us. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That has a real influence, on our culture here.
Well, I think it'd be a real selling point or a marketing idea is that people that might be thinking, or maybe they didn't realize it, but if they're somehow getting up to the Four Corners area, to the, to the Chaco Canyon area, and most people probably stay in a hotel or motel in Farmington, that would be a great way to look at real estate while they're there, if they're thinking about retiring. But then back to retirees, are there communities that are being built there where, like a retirement community that's maybe it's gated, they don't have, a lot of retirees, they don't want to deal, not only they don't want to deal with the terrible weather from back east anymore as they're getting older, but they don't want to have lawns, they don't want to have to cut the grass, they don't want to have pulled dandelions and that type of thing. Are there retirement communities that are being developed up in Farmington?
We are just starting to hear that come on, Anna. Interesting that you mentioned that. There was a groundbreaking ribbon cutting on a new development just on the west end of town. Now that will be more of an assisted living facility, but it's going to develop into independent living. We do not have, we've got a couple of gated communities here, but they are not specific to retirees. The Country Club, and then there's one up off of Pinion Hills that's very nice. And, I was just talking with the Chamber of Commerce the other day. They can't, it's something they just can't talk about a whole lot right now, but they're going, it's coming, and they're winking their eyes. So,
well, that's good to know. That's, if anybody watches this program, because I've already interviewed the chamber in Farmington, go Farmington. It's kind of like they can just put it in their little tickler file, because it means it's coming down the road, which is good.
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, in addition to selling real estate in Farmington, do you sell throughout San Juan County or any of the other counties, like in that part of the state, or what are you doing up there in terms of
Well, this is a huge county. Remember, this county is 2.5 times the size of Rhode Island.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, it's a big county. Our MLS is countywide, so we sell anywhere in the county. Farmington, Bloomfield, Aztec, Kirtland, anywhere we sell.
And so what would an average house be? I have a friend who lives in Aztec. What would a house cost up in Aztec?
They're a little, those are a little lower price point than they are here in Farmington. Off the top of my head, and I'm going to say 190s.
Okay.
Over there.
Okay. And then in terms of Bloomfield, when I think of Bloomfield, I automatically think of like farming. Is that why? Is there a reason that I think of that?
Well, they do have an agricultural base over there. Yeah.
Okay.
Big, nice farms to the west out Sullivan Road, all the way up to Blanco. And that's a very interesting area over there. Those are, heritage families over there that have been there as long as people have been in Santa Fe.
But what type of farming do they do up there? What grows up in your neck of the woods?
It's primarily, they're raising alfalfa over there.
Okay.
Big alfalfa farms. Now, we also have the Navajo agricultural products industry just immediately to the south of town. It's a 5-minute drive over there. That's 100,000 acres of irrigated property. About 70,000 acres is in production right now. And they grow a variety of things: alfalfa, potatoes, beans, pumpkins, onions, just all kinds of things out there that, ship all over the country. It's a great asset to our community.
Oh, good. And then in terms of if somebody wants to, get away from, they may, they don't even want to be in a town the size of Farmington. Are there any ranchettes or little like country estates in your area that are for sale, or have you sold in the
Sure.
past?
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of, things from 2.5 acres all on, there's, currently there's an $8 million ranch up north of Aztec, if anybody's interested.
And what do you get for $8 million?
You get priority water, which is in the desert a big deal. It's adjudicated water that goes back to the late 1800s. Great stuff. Huge irrigated fields up there. Gorgeous.
Well, how many acres do you get?
I think there's 600 acres up there, if I'm not.
And then is there already a home or a ranch located on the property?
Yes, there's a home up there. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I mean, heck, I might just put it on my credit card.
There you go.
We're at the end of the interview. Is there anything you'd like to say? I mean, I really think it's exciting that Farmington is moving forward as a retirement community, because there, a lot of people want to get out of Michigan and New Jersey, and it's just colder. And it's, as you said, all of New Mexico is incredibly interesting in terms of culture and history. Is there anything you want to end with, Barry? Because I'm going to have all your contact details with this, but anything you want to say?
I just, for people that are looking for a great place to retire, great weather, proximity to wonderful outdoor activities, you just can't beat Farmington. It's the right size for everything. If you want to go to a Home Depot or a Lowe's, we've got that. If you want, really good northern New Mexico food, we've got some of that here. We're not going to try to compete, with Santa Fe necessarily, but it's pretty good stuff up here.
Well, you know what? Don't feel intimidated. Santa Fe's changed a lot. One last question, because we are talking about retirees. What about healthcare? I mean, if people, as we get older, we do need to be close to doctors and things. Well, how is healthcare in Farmington?
I think it's good. We've got San Juan Regional Medical Center here, which is it's a community-owned hospital. It's not a private hospital, for-profit hospital. So, they do a great job. Okay, we don't have the specialties that a Phoenix or a Denver would have, of course. But we, when people need that kind of care, it's a quick trip on an airplane out of here.
So you do have an airport in Farmington?
We do have an airport in Farmington. We lost our regularly scheduled service about 1.5 2 years ago, and are working to get that back again.
And what is the drive to Durango? You're not too far from Durango, Colorado.
It's about an hour to Durango.
Okay, well, these are all selling points. But again, we're done. I mean, I could go I could talk to you about Farmington for the next hour, but we've got to end the interview. Anything else you want to say?
That's it. Just give me a call, and we'd love to see you here.
You take care, Barry. Thanks so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.